Have you ever wondered what channel you are trusting? Welcome to Tools to Manifest Your Dream Life with myself and my very, very special guest, Dr. V. Welcome, Dr. V. I'm so excited that you are here.
Oh, it is an absolute pleasure to have any time to get to chat with you. Absolutely.
Yay, yay. So, Dr. V, I first got to know her. She attended a class of mine in 2018, and I have had the absolute pleasure since then to watch her just kaboom into the world. And I'm sure she was before that. I just didn't know her. So from 2018 on, just the magic that you be and that you share in the world. And there's so many ways that you do it. So I will invite you to do a little bio for the listeners who aren't familiar with you.
Firstly, 2018. Wow, we go that far back. And you know what? I'll get to that in a second. I'm going to come back to it. But for a quick cap of who I am, yes, I am Dr. V. It's an absolute delight to be here. Who am I? I'll put it in the frame of I'm a doctor of acupuncture. I love business. I'm an online educator. I love to move and teach people about the subconscious mind and what it does to the body. I love doing metaphysical work, healing work. Really, ultimately, I think my purpose here is to hit people across the head to understand, wake up and just be who you are, your actual true access to who you are, not what you thought you had to be. And what one of my mentors has said, to get back to your nature, not what your culture has taught you that you are. And I think that's really what is part of my purpose and who I am here to be for people.
So today we are basically inviting people to your upcoming six-part series called Trust the Channel. And
Yeah.
it starts in June. Remind me of the date.
Yeah, it starts on June 18th at 3 p.m.
Oh, I am so excited personally. So freaking excited because this is beyond for everyone listening. If you haven't experienced a class or something magical with Dr. V, it is so much more than just learning, attending and having your pen and paper and writing down some cool things that she says. It's so much more than that. And you change on a cellular and molecular level when you work with Dr. V. And that's the best way that I can say it. So this is an invitation to that. I have a 10% discount code, which is also an affiliate link, which means if you utilize my code, which is as if by magic, of course.
Of
Uh,
course.
no, just as if by magic. Don't add the of course, but as if by magic, all one word. You'll receive 10% off, and I will receive
A wonderful kickback.
a wonderful kickback. It's like, what is the word for that? But that's a better word. A wonderful kickback. So it
Yeah,
is a win-win-win, and I'm just so excited. So I have a question for you, Dr.
sure.
V, to start us off. What would you say that the main reason we don't trust our own channel, the main reason we trust outside of ourselves?
I think we are byproducts of our environment. And so culturally, and maybe even from a global scale, when it's interesting, and I think my answers changed so much since being back from Africa, right? Which is, you want to talk about an entire continent that had to be at the effect of external forces coming in and telling them what was best and taking from them. And so I'm coming off of that, right? And so I'm at this point where I'm like, okay, if so many of our civilizations for so many years have literally been infiltrated by external influences, of course, we would be byproducts of listening to external forces and putting ours aside at risk of being attacked, being taken away, being sold, being whatever it was. And so when I come back to your question, I think the biggest piece is because we are so desperately wired to connect and to belong. And so, if our social construct is listening to external things, the news, articles, research, what everybody else is talking about, it's easier to follow that and stay with a part of the group than it is to literally be like, fuck this. I'm taking my own path and I'm going to take my machete and make my own path along the way. If you want to come, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, isn't that true? And that desire to fit in, that desire to not be wrong, basically, for others to validate us or to love us. Yeah, that's a huge, huge pull. Now, In your own experience, would you say that it's always been easy for you to trust the channel, or what's been your journey with it?
Well, I love that you pinned this 2018. When I go back there, I remember I'll call it like the magic and the miracles, which is something that you really introduced. And I feel like Ocean lives in a lot in that energy and has pulled me into it so many different ways. But I remember just driving down the highway because at that time you lived out on a beautiful acreage property and it was cold. Like it wasn't warm outside. And there was this helium balloon that was just floating through the air. And I'm like, what even is this? And the reason I mention this is because events like that followed me throughout my whole life. There's so many things that have been odd and weird, and I stopped talking about them because the people that surrounded me, I don't think they knew what to do with it. I don't think they even knew how to respond to it. And so, as a result of not getting feedback to encourage it, I stopped talking about it. And when it would come up inside of me, whether it was thoughts, whether it was things I felt or saw, etc., or had ideas about, I learned to push them more to the side and to keep them private or in my journal or just not anywhere at all. And so for myself, from a trusting the channel perspective and trusting what that was, it was more coming from a place of that's weird. And weird isn't always socially acceptable. And so that's what I've more learned from that respect. And from this point, though, where I am now, especially in the last few years of being in business, what I've noticed is how much more magical life can be when you stop trying to be something else than what you naturally are, like what your natural nature is.
Was there one main place where you just said, fuck it, I'm going to be what's natural to me, or was it a slow evolution?
Ooh, that's a good question. Same thing. Like when I look back, I'm like, man, that was really weird. I feel like I tried to hide it. But when I look back at photos or I hear stories from my siblings or whatever, I'm like, oh no, I always was really different. And so I think at some point my brain switched to go, oh, I'm so normal. I fit in. I'm not like, but you can't unsee what's just clearly documented. And so I think in my mind it was a slow progression of returning to myself. And I think I continually return to myself, right? To pick up old pathways that I got lost on. But now it's so much more clear. Now I recognize, oh no, like I'm like straight up unhinged. And there are pivotal moments where I've just been like, fuck that. That is such a waste of time to do it that way. I'm doing it this way.
I shared with my email list, I think this week or last week, whenever, about just a really almost I could say everyday example in my own life along with everything else I do. As you know, I'm a pet sitter also.
Oh my
And
gosh, it was with the cat.
was it the cat?
Oh my gosh, it was such a good email.
It's like, and so for anyone listening that didn't receive that email, what had happened is we were pet sitting one cat. He had a condition, so he was really wobbly. That's the best way to describe it. So he couldn't climb or anything like that. And the pet parents said to us, as soon as you get up in the morning, open the back door. There's a pet door there, like a cat door, so he can come in and out. And at night, when it starts getting dark, just close the door because that's the only time he can't be outside is at night, just because of prey animals and such. And they said there's no way he can get out. So perfect. That's what we did. And fine. This one day, though, I'm sitting upstairs and I'm working away. And all of a sudden, I have this awareness thought, whatever it is. And it was like, Emmy is outside. And as soon as it came in, I just pushed it away because the pet parent said he couldn't get outside the yard. So I ignored it. But 10 minutes later, it was this urgent, demanding, Emmy is outside the yard. And I got up and I went downstairs and I still wasn't believing it, but I was like, I couldn't ignore that. And sure enough, he was
Oh my God.
outside. I still have a bit of a scar of where he like,
Oh wow.
but in his defense, they told me he didn't like being picked up. But I'm like, I had no other choice. And I knew if I didn't in that moment, we wouldn't see him again. And I was not willing. So it was like, it was my lip or the cat. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I'll suffer through the lip. But it was such a great example
Yeah.
how easily we can push away that information, that awareness, that the channel that came in of like, this is what's happening. And the logic of the pet parent said he couldn't overriding it in an instant. And that is, I'm so grateful it came in even louder and kind of bitch slapped me into getting into motion, because don't even want to think about it. And how often that happens, but we don't get the second louder voice. We don't get the urgent message the next time. And so, in those sorts of situations, have you trained yourself with that first, awareness? What do you suggest to people listening going, man, that happens all the time, but I never listen? Do you have any suggestions for people with that?
Oh my gosh, I have so many suggestions because there's multiple. That's a great story, by the way, and I'm so happy that the cat is okay, even though your lip, took a hit. Because so many things can be quiet like that. So many things with food, with places to go, with work that you want to take up, with things you want to be trained in, with people you'd be friends with, romantic relations. Like everything can come back to that singular thought in that whisper. And so if you're tuned in, which I think when you break it down, if we go from a neuroscience perspective, something that is well traversed, then it's easy to follow that path. Just like if you're in the woods somewhere, some of those, you can see how many hundreds of people have walked through that path. And so the path is easy to find. But if you're going through that path for the first time, it can be really challenging to go, okay, where am I? And so for people listening, when you're like, well, how do you hone that? Well, you have to literally practice it every single day. Even with our students in some of our programs, right? We teach them to really slow down. Stop moving so fast. Slow down and listen to the sensations that are happening in your body. Because if you've spent an entire lifetime ignoring them, because people have been like, oh no, that's not happening. You're not feeling anything. That's wrong. Because then you just start to ignore it because they've dismissed it. And so it takes really slowing down and being like, wait a minute, what did you just say? Just like you would do with a kid. What did you just say? What was that? And coming back to having that relationship with ourselves so that those are louder and louder and louder. And the people who are telling us what to do get quieter and quieter and quieter. Yeah, that would be probably the biggest one is slow down. Like nothing needs to be a rush at all.
Say more about slowing down, because when I hear that, I think like physically slowing down, and I'm not completely sure that's what you mean. Can you put it into an example?
It can be slowing down physically because when I look at, so again, coming from where we were, especially just this last place where we were in the bush, right? And so when we are on the bush, there's no sound pollution. There's animals, of course, but there's no sound pollution. There's no light pollution. There's no Wi-Fi towers. There's barely any concrete. So you are like really immersed in the pulse of the earth and what nature is doing and communicating with each other. Now they can all communicate on hyper sound and hyper feeling, right? Because that's what they're tuned into. And I think we've lost that as humans, right? Because we're so connected to our devices, we're so connected to news. And so same thing, our natural instincts are interconnected with technology, which I mean, I say this with so much love, it kind of dumbs our system down. And so we just like don't know how to respond to things. But if we're willing to turn those things off and literally slow down. So we're not rushing out the door at 5 minutes to. We're not racing out of bed. It's like we allow our system to actually be at peace. We don't move as fast. There are moments where it's like time to go, but it's not from a place of urgency and anxiety. It's actually really grounded and peaceful, even though you can move quickly physically in those moments. And so that slowing down is all of us usually experience it when we take a vacation. We're like, oh my gosh, this feels so good. And then you go back and everything feels abnormally urgent. And so it's like integrating that on a daily basis, maybe not the whole day, because that might cause severe anxiety for a lot of people, but to allow yourself to even just have 20 minutes a day can begin to train you to really start to listen to your own sensory system.
Wow. Wow. And so I know you do a lot of meditation. Is that one of the ways that you would suggest to people, along with slowing down? How do you, if you're used to going 100 miles an hour and everything's urgent and you're always behind and it's kind of that overwhelm, intense anxiety energy, how do you train yourself to change that?
There's a few ways because I think everybody's different. And even some of my mentors talk about meditating 3 hours a day. I'm like, who the fuck has 3 hours a day? Other than the people who are obviously using their mind to construct a reality to be able to meditate 3 hours a day. I'm not there yet, right? And so there's moments where I recognize, especially now after coming back where we were, where I'm like, I'm overwhelmed. I've been on my computer for 90 minutes. That's my end point. I can feel my system. I'm getting tired. Like, so then I know I need to disengage from the stimulation and I need to just close my eyes, even if it's just for 5 minutes. I need to close my eyes. I need to feel my body go inwards. And that can be as simple as taking out the sensory of the vision. So closing the eyes. Maybe it's just plugging your ears, even with earplugs, to take out the sound. And then just focusing on the circular breath, which to me, there's so many different types of breathing. But if you need something tactile, you can breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. And you can use your hand, breathe in, breathe out. And you can do that multiple times back and forth and for just even like 5 minutes. And that allows you to really connect inwards. I think a huge misconception is that I do meditate a lot. And while I do take a lot of time to listen to myself, it's not for hours on end. Every single morning, I'll get up out of bed, I'll come to my desk. Usually my beba has put like a lemon water or something on my desk for me, which is very nice. And I'll open up just a blank page and I will write, we call it a gratitude kata. So it's like being so grateful for multiple things. And I'll write a whole page of that and just be overwhelmingly grateful for what my life looks like on a day-to-day basis. And there's so much in that that I think is missing in the world is to just like for the simple things. I am so grateful for this shirt, my AC, like the tactile things, but also the birds and the grass and how intelligent dandelions are. Like, and so to just take a moment to write that down, and then I do one more page of something that I feel like I haven't dipped fully into loving. And so these are very active forms of meditation as opposed to closing my eyes and like breathing and humming. And so I think everybody is different in what they require, but those ones I find helpful because they have a little bit of that somatic connective piece alongside as retraining the mind.
I love that. Say
Mhm.
a little bit more about dipping into something you haven't fully loved.
Yeah, this is something that I will for sure be bringing into Trust the Channel because the way that I've broken that up is over the 6 weeks, there's 2 weeks per, we'll call it a topic. And so I want to help people address their mind, their body, and their spirit because I find that if your thoughts are all, we got to reorganize the thoughts. Once the thoughts are reorganized, then we can take the pressure out of the body and let that somatic data come out of the body. And then once those two are done, now we can connect spiritually. And that's where we turn into the antenna and really allow the actual information to come through. And so the one thing that I got so interested in actually came from Conversations with God, which is a 3-part book. I don't know if you've ever read it.
I did, yes, years ago.
Okay. So I actually, and this is the other piece of trusting the channel. The way I got that book, I had a client who came to see me and they came for a couple sessions and then they said, well, of course, because it's in Conversations with God. And I said, I have no idea what you're talking about. And she was like, you have to have this book. And she's like, I'm coming back. And I didn't see her for quite some time. And then she came back and she gave me the book and she said, you have to have this. And I said, okay, great. Thank you so much. That's awesome. Never saw her again. That was it. Just whoop. It was like a messenger to bring me this information and then she's gone. And so, and I didn't read it for months, like months and months and months. And I started reading it a couple months before we went to Africa. And so I would have started that in March, maybe around then. And as I was reading through this one section, God was responding to the man because the man was saying, well, you're not helping me manifest more money. And he's like, okay, well, because you're in the contract of wanting it, which means you don't have it, which means you keep reinforcing that you want it, which means you keep reinforcing that you're never going to have it. And he said, if you just sat your butt down and loved it, if you just loved it, true love, not this conversation of money is the root of all evil. And if you love money, then you're evil because that's not actually love, that's lust. And those are very different energies. Love is without condition. If we love something without condition, there's no right or wrong, there's no judgment on it, right? And so when I look at this exercise of loving something, Ocean put it to me so beautifully one day. She's got this tattoo on the side of her body, and it says, "True love is cruel love," tattooed on her body. And then when she met me, she went through the process of trying to get this tattoo removed, which was very painful. So she stopped. But she said, "You loved me so unconditionally that you loved the hate out of me." And I was like, that's really powerful and very awesome. That's amazing. I love that. And if I can sit down every single day and love something repeatedly in a written format. So what I do is I write very specific sentences over and over and over again. And it's all towards one topic. And if I could truly sit down and train my mind, my body, and my spirit to love this thing, there's no judgment on it, which means that I'm in full connection and receivership of it. So, I mean, yesterday, I can just sit down and say, I love money. And what's cool is that when you're writing 20 sentences over and over again of I love money, true love, what you'll do is you'll go through this process where you're like, I love it. And it's almost like you're like, and then you drop into this, it feels grungy. You're like, oh, I don't think I'm supposed to love that. So now you're somatically actually releasing and rewiring. So you're shifting this shit to the surface. Once that, and that's where most people stop. They're like, this doesn't feel good. And I'm like, I know, because you pushed it so far down, it needs to get out. It's like a constipation effect where you're like, I know I need to go. And then you're mid and you're like, this hurts. And then there's the relief after, right? So once you get through like 15 statements of writing this, then the bliss comes through. And you're like, oh, that's what it's supposed to feel like. And so you can do this on multiple different topics. And that's something that I'm very excited to bring into Trust the Channel is it's a very somatic exercise that connects all aspects.
Oh my God, I got no words. Is it June 18th yet? This is my question. Is it June 18th yet? Like, can we
I,
start today? Okay.
I didn't really release this yet, but technically we're actually starting on June 7th. I added another call. I was on the plane and I was just like, you need to add the pre-work call. So I was like, okay. And that's for anybody can come to that one. Because I know some people are like, I don't know, I gotta suss this chick out. And I'm like, fine, come then. So
That's
that's
brilliant.
there you
That's
go.
brilliant.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's talk about, I know because of SIT and the work that you do there and the modality for anybody listening that's not familiar. So you work with a lot of practitioners.
I do.
And I know in my work with a lot of practitioners where there's the healing capacities, there's so much magic, and yet we can stop ourselves with doubt, with all of these other energies. And so talk about trusting your channel from that place of being a practitioner, but really sticking yourself in less than, I guess is the best phrase.
I find a lot of it can be attached to guilt too, guilt and doubt and lack of trust. And I find those show up even when we go back to our developmental ages. When I say developmental ages, I'm talking about between the ages of 0 and 9. There's so much that we are learning about how to be, especially in our society or our natural environments that we were born into. And I find there's a lot of conflict that can show up with decision making and just going for it. So if we have an intuitive impulse, like you had with the cat, there might be a natural conflict of who am I to listen to that? Oh my gosh, who am I to just go up and think that there's anything wrong here? Or what happens if I do go outside and I find the cat? What happens if I don't? Like, there's just all this, it's like mind fuckery. But I find that actually happened in those formative years when kids are constantly being interrupted. It's like, no, don't do that. No, don't do that. And so the natural skill actually was interrupted really early in life. And it's just gotten more intense as we age because that's what we grew up in from an environmental perspective. And so when we look at those decision makings that were interrupted and the guilt that can come from, I'm going to disappoint my parent if I choose this because they told me to do it the other way. Or if I choose it and something bad happens, then I need to feel guilty for it. So those are the things first that I find are actually underneath of the doubt. And the doubt shows up as like it's almost like a sabotager. So it's like, don't do it, doubt it. Something bad is underneath of it. When I look at practitioners, it's the same construct, when it's like, don't do this, you might go against your association, which sure, there's valid things that are there, right, to keep everybody safe. But those natural impulses are so important because that's where your client is attracted to you and your magic. So when you doubt it, you're damping it. And when you dampen it, they can't hear it anymore. So then you just end up being like everybody else. And then you're not happy. And then sometimes they feel like, what the fuck? I thought you were this kind of healer, but you're not showing it to me because you're dampening it over here, because you're doubting it, because there's a guilt response underneath of it, and you're unsure of yourself because the confidence isn't there, because everybody kept telling you to stop doing it. And that's just a mess. And so to strip it down, I like what I truly love to do is give practitioners permission to be a little bit unhinged. Let yourself just fucking say it. Let yourself swear a couple times. Let yourself wear all the weird clothes that are in your closet that you know you love wearing, but you don't wear them because you think you're supposed to be professional. Let yourself let go a little bit. And that doubt is usually all the way circled back to this conception of, will I actually belong? Will I actually belong if I do it? And you know what the crazy thing is in all of this? Is you're living in a construct that isn't actually even true anyways, because you're masking your true nature. So you think you're belonging, but it's not even true to begin with. And I find that one is the most depressing piece that can leave a lot of people feeling unfulfilled. I like to push the envelope and just say, because there's a lot of people that are like, well, if I do that, something bad might happen. And I'm like, and if you do it, something amazing might happen. Which one do you want to go with? They're literally two paths. You can
Yes.
try them both, and you can be like, okay, maybe I shouldn't do that one again. 10 times out of 10, something bad happened. Maybe I should go the other way. You know what I mean? So it's like allowing that creative exploration to come back so that it's actually fun and we take the wrongness out of what a mistake might seem to be. Because are there any mistakes? Is that just a social construct?
Yes, it's so true. It's so true. Because honestly, any mistake, if somebody's willing to be present with it, I say we can take it and learn from it. There can be so many gifts from it that can take you in a completely different direction that if you hadn't made that mistake. So what would you say is like one sign or maybe more than one sign that people are listening to the wrong channel? How would they know that they're listening to the wrong channel?
Most people feel really tired, probably a sense of anxiety, whether it's anxiety and thoughts, just constant bombardment of thoughts, or a feeling of anxiety inside the body that just something just doesn't quite feel settled. Those are pretty big ones. I feel like if you're watching this and you know either one of us, you probably already know, and you've been avoiding it, and you've been doubting that it's even been a thought or something in the corner of the recesses of your mind where you're like, I don't really like my job. It's like it's in your language too, probably. I don't know if I should do that. If you have any of that kind of language of, I don't know if I should do that, I don't know where to go, you're not listening to your channel, or it's completely off of its frequency. Since we've been back, it's been more challenging to be on technology. I didn't realize how tired it made me.
Wow.
And right, but then you remove it for so long. I didn't have my computer with me. I had my phone a little bit. And so when we've been back, I've been reading a lot. I've been reading the new Dan Brown book. And I know it's a story, but she actually talks about consciousness in the story. The main character is talking about consciousness in the story. And she's like, your brain is a receiver. It's constantly receiving signals, but you have to tune it into what signal you're going to receive. Because we are all conscious beings, which means we are all receivers. And everything that we have can extend from thought, which turns into feeling, which turns into action. And so if we are tuned into someone else's frequency, if we're tuned into the family frequency, if we're tuned into the societal frequency, if you are consuming large amounts of digital data, which is social media related, you are plugged into so many things. And good luck hearing what is innately you. But the number one thing that can give you a piece of clarity, if you're like, I don't know if I'm trusting the channel or not, go to nature for 4 hours and then go back to your house. And if you're not doing that, go to nature for 4 hours, see what it feels like, and then go back to your concrete jungle and see what that feels like. Right. It's so fascinating because the receiving changes based on even the environment. Think about all the ideas that come for you. You move around a lot with you're sitting and with the pets, etc. Do you notice where you were more creative?
I sure do. It was so interesting because we're in Penticton right now, British Columbia, which is in all of our almost 3 years, this is the place that we said if we were going to settle down, this is where we would do it. We had to sit here 2 years ago, and it was like, oh my God, this is magic. And same thing as we crossed over into British Columbia, and I love Alberta, where my home is, so to speak, crossed into BC, and it was just like, and it's totally different here
Yeah.
for me, for my body, for everything. And it's fascinating. And yeah, definitely. Now, the other thing I was going to say to that, which is a little bit from a different angle, is that if I'm not aware of it, if I'm not present with it when I'm in different houses, I can take on those people's energy.
Whoa.
I know it's something I have to be now. This house in particular, I would say she's a really clean isn't the word, tidy. If something needs to be done, she just gets it done because I've been being that, and that's not necessarily how I operate. Like, so it's been really cool because that I'll take on. I'm like, yeah, I see that it's not me, but I'm happy to have this sort of energy. But there's other places where it's like, yeah, just different choices, different behaviors, and it's like, nope, that's not me. I can be me here and do some energy stuff with it, but definitely kind of slide into their energy and their way of being just because you're so engulfed in their
Oh
life and their
yeah.
energy and stuff. So
Yeah.
definitely, yeah.
I find hotels to be the most challenging for me. Constant overturn of people, and then I don't think they have sage or whatever. I don't think they do clearing on those buildings, you know. Oh my God, you should see the two of us, Ocean and I together. We just become completely different couples in hotels because there's so much interference. I'll call it that, interference, where it's like, yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Now, I wanted to go back. You listed a few, of course, we can have family and cultural and different ways that we listen to other channels. And you've mentioned social media or technology a few times. Is there one in your experience that is more detrimental than others, or is it just dependent on the person?
Oh, wow. That can be really dependent on the personality of the person. I think the one that is the most quietly addictive is the one that you really got to watch. So the one that if you can't walk by your phone without opening it and looking at your messages or your Instagram, and if you can't do that, that one is the one that you probably need the most distance from because it's infiltrating so much and giving you so much external information that these platforms are predominantly created now to use you to buy their products, right? They are so good at hooking you in. And when you think about that from a vampire perspective, and you look at the things that hook you in and you don't know where you are or have been, those are the ones you really got to pay attention to because those ones are probably the most dangerous from your energy and your own channel perspective and what you're tapped into. So that could be a few different things because there's some music. I will literally plug my ears because I'm like, I cannot get inside of my system because of the words and the frequency of the music. I'm just like, what in the so it depends, but I would really suggest same thing, slowing down and listening. I love country music, but when I started listening to like 90% of their lyrics, I'm like, oh my gosh, you guys just talk about drinking and being sad all the time. Great sound, but whoa, what's with the lyrics? Whereas I can plug into someone like Brandon Lake. Brandon Lake is a non-secular singer, so he's a Christian artist. When I plug into his music, oh my gosh, it's like I got wings underneath of me. So it's not that certain media is bad. You just got to go with the ones that continuously support you versus take away from you.
I love that because it would be very different for each person. I
Yeah.
know for myself, the greatest gift that I gave myself is the do not disturb on my phone because I've used it at night all the time, like forever and ever, because I don't necessarily shut my phone off, but I just, stops at a certain time of night and starts the next morning. And then it was, I don't know, maybe a couple of years ago or a year ago, I was just like, why would I not use this during the day? Because I'm constantly like, oh, this, oh, that. And no, none of it needs my attention, but all of it gets it. And then the way that my creativeness is, and I think for a lot of people is, I can't get disturbed. So if I'm in the middle of creation and even hubby talks to me from the other room or something pops up on my phone, I may never get back to that energy because I've like flipped out of it, and it's just it took me a long time to really recognize that.
Oh, yeah. And that's it. That's when you extend that into all aspects of your being and you just insert what are the things that are interrupting you in all respects, right? You start to look at life quite a bit differently, or you start to put stop points up of I'm busy, don't distract me, or I'm not answering my phone, or no, I'm not going to do that because I said I was going to finish this project, whatever it may be. When you start looking at it from that perspective, the channel strengthens.
Yes.
And then it just continuously gets stronger because you're filtering. It's like an algorithm. You know, your Instagram algorithm, it's like as soon as you like a baking channel, then you have like 5,000 baking channels.
Yes.
You allow yourself to do that, and you're like, no, I can't make that. No, I can't help you. When you allow yourself to say the no's so that the yeses are so strong, it'll feed your internal algorithm, get stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger. So you know very clearly what works for you and what does not work for you. And therefore, your responses to certain things or your guilt complex or your doubt starts to diminish because you're like, this feels way better than that. So I'm going to continuously do this over that. Once you get past the discomfort of other people feeling uncomfortable with your response, that's where the gravy is, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. An internal algorithm.
Totally.
Yes. 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 Oh my gosh. Okay, so any final words, sharing thoughts, wisdom that you can share to the listeners that will inspire them to start trusting their own channel?
The unique signature, so because this is predominantly talking to practitioners, the unique signature of who you are is so powerful because it will speak specifically to individuals, can only hear it from you. So, whatever your modality is, whatever your healing is, whatever your coaching is that you offer in the world, it is so important to be the unique function of who you are so that these people can hear it from you. It's kind of like the third party validation. I can tell Glenise as much as I want to trust the channel, but she might have to hear it from hubby where he's like, you really got to trust the channel. And she's like, oh my gosh, I have to trust the channel. That's what I'm talking about. Like when you're just the unique aspect of who you are, it can transform somebody else's experience in an instant. But if you are being off your channel, in your treatment room, in your family, within yourself, within the way that you present yourself, the way that you talk about yourself, the way that you move through your life, if you are not on that path, you will consistently attract all these people who are not actually meant to work with you or who can't actually hear things from you because you are completely off of your channel. I don't know how many people listen to radios anymore, but 104.9 is 104.9. That's where it's the clearest. If you're 104.7, it sounds crackly. And so you can't hear it, and then you might get annoyed, and then you want to go back to the actual one. And if you just translate that onto everything as you are as a practitioner, can you just imagine how much you would relax if you were 100% in your channel? You stopped giving a shit about who is happy that you did this and who isn't happy that you did this, and you just settled into that. Oh my gosh, you'd take a deep breath, relax. You'd probably have way less tension in your system, and think about the magic that would come through you. This whole 6 week journey was a process of a month of a thought relentlessly coming into my head. And I was busy doing other shit. And I'm like, no, I have to do this. And this thought was like, you need to do this 6 week thing. Here's the price. Here's what you're going to do. And I was like, no, resist, resist. I'm busy doing other things. This is the most excited I have been about an offer in a very long time. And I love our offers, but this one I'm like, ooh, because it was made for me and it was driven through me. And that's what I so want for so many practitioners, where they can just like relax and like allow that to come through. And it takes way less energy and it feels so much more fulfilling. And it's just like, think about all the cool shit that you can create when you just finally trust yourself and just listen to it and go for it. Even if it breaks, even if it doesn't work, even if nobody buys it, even if like, it doesn't matter, just try it and see how fun it can be in the process.
Wow. And who is the 6 weeks for? Who is going to receive the most from it, do
Mm-hmm.
you get?
Initially created it for practitioners because I found that practitioners are such a a pillar in communities, and then people are driven to that practitioner. And so if I can help affect the practitioner to feel more stable and grounded and connected, they will do the work with so many other people. So that's why I like to focus on practitioners, because I also find that they're most notoriously undervaluing themselves, doubting themselves. When I'm like, you were literally creating life-changing opportunities for people out in the community. Like you were literally helping change their physicality, their mind, their emotional state, their opportunities, their beliefs. I don't know where this concept came from that healers should just give all their stuff away for free and they can't charge. It's the weirdest notion to me. It really is. And so to be able to put a pin in that and to flip that, I really feel quite passionate about that. Having said that, there are always a few, people that find it and they're like, I'm not a practitioner and I think that way. And I'm like, you have this. If you're not a practitioner and you're listening to this, you have an internal, like, you can't stop thinking about it. Should I sign up for it? If it keeps nagging you, just trust it. It's there for a reason.
That's so amazing. Thank you so much for coming today and sharing your brilliance and your wisdom and your uniqueness. I am so grateful that you are the weirdo that you are and that you are no longer hiding it and sharing it and really truly changing the world.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
All right. So yes, you can sign up at, remind me of the webpage. I'll have the link, guys, above or below. If you can't find it, reach out, but I believe it's,
Yeah, sitwithv.com/the channel.
and then my discount code 10% off is As If by Magic. And you can always contact me if you need any of that information again, but you can find it above or below or in the podcast notes. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. I look forward to chatting again next week.